right, peace everyone. My name is Mama Erin. I am one of the co-founders of the Detroit Black Farmer Land Fund. I think you can see my screen. This is our website, detroitblackfarmer.com. So I am here to talk about our application. So one of the biggest things that we started thinking about when we were founded in 2020, we were founded by three organizations: Keep Growing Detroit, Oakland Avenue Urban Farm, and the Detroit Black Community Food Security Network, whose name is now the Detroit Black Community Food Sovereignty Network, right? But still DBCFSN for short. So those three organizations have been doing urban farming work in Detroit for decades. And on Juneteenth 2020, came together because we really wanted to make sure that in the midst of the pandemic, in the midst of lockdowns and the protests and George Floyd's murder, everything that was going on, we were really concerned about this fledgling Black farming community that we have here in the city of Detroit, and making sure that folks who were farming and doing the work and supporting their communities, right? There was a lot of grocery stores here and other types of, food avenues that were not available during the pandemic. And, there were folks who were growing food on their blocks, supporting each other, giving each other mutual aid. And we wanted to make sure that those folks who were growing on land that they did not own, had some financial support to be able to purchase that land. We said we wanted to raise $5,000 for a few farmers that we knew, and that we raised $5,000 in one day. So, and it was history. We went viral. Everyone started donating because we know that people really believed in the mission that we set out for ourselves and the mission that we set out for Detroit Black farmers. So since Juneteenth 2020, we've awarded 171 awards. 70 of those awardees are now landowners. Almost 20 acres of land in Detroit. Detroit is one of the most vacant cities in America, and so much of that land is being purchased by Black Detroiters to farm and garden and create green spaces. So super excited to continue this work for our 5th year. All right, so again, we are at DetroitBlackFarmer.com. If you want to get to, we're going to go to the application. So we're just going to go here to apply. The application is already live. So this screen is already there. And it kind of depends how long it's going to take you, will depend on where you are in the land acquisition or farm process. So we give awards both for you to help you purchase land. Most of that land comes from the Detroit Land Bank. We do also support Black farmers and growers in Highland Park and Hamtramck, right? So some of those are working with state land banks or county land banks. So we do some of that work as well. And so if you already know kind of how to acquire your land and you're just looking for the funds, then it's going to take you less time to do the application, or at least some of the groundwork to prepare for doing the application. I do want to lift up our great co-founder, Mama T, who was also Detroit's new director of sustainability. So really excited for her about that. Every year she does a great webinar on accessing and purchasing land. Again, I mentioned Keep Growing Detroit is one of the co-founding farms of the Detroit Black Farmer Land Fund. So if you're completely new to the idea of purchasing land in Detroit, you just have heard about the Detroit Black Farmer Land Fund, and you want to know more about how you could go about purchasing some land, maybe that you've identified, but you're totally new, I would definitely tell you to, and that you could get to this from our website. Come to Keep Growing Detroit's website. I'm sorry, Keep Growing Detroit's website, detroitagriculture.net, and you can get to their YouTube channel. This class just happened last week. Super informative. T has been doing this work for a very long time. It's why she's one of the co-founders of our land fund as well. And so so watching that webinar will definitely get you on point in terms of knowing some of the things that you'll need to know for our application, right? And so I'm gonna go back to Detroit Black Farmer, DetroitBlackFarmer.com, and this is the Apply tab. This gives a little bit of information about the funds and how we raise funds. They're mostly grassroots raised funds. We have some grant funds that we utilize specifically for the purpose of helping Black farmers in Detroit, Highland Park, and Hamtramck purchase land and get infrastructure on their farm or garden land. And so some of the things that you're going to need for the application, again, that'll impact how long it would take you. We would definitely love photos or videos of you and your farm or your garden or your green space, even if so, and again, we have a variety of different folks who apply. So even if you don't have space yet, let's say that you volunteered at D-Town Farm last weekend, which you should do every weekend. But let's see, you volunteered at D-Town Farm last weekend, you have a picture of yourself. It would be great to see you in process, right? Just see you farming, see you gardening, even if you don't have your space yet. If you do have a space or you have a space that you're thinking about, definitely show us some photos or video of you utilizing that space. If you're only applying for infrastructure funds, so again, that's you already have land that you own or you have land that you are renting from another farmer, you're renting from someone, and you're specifically renting it for, again, utilizing as a green space, a farm or a garden, we're going to need a budget, right? So let's say you need a rain catchment system. Let's say you need a fence. Whatever you're thinking about getting for your growing space, we're going to need you to have a project budget. And so we have a template here that will show you kind of how to fill out a really basic budget so that you can submit to us kind of, this is the project that I'm working on. This is how much it's going to cost, right? And so then we can, or usually our awards go anywhere from $500 to $2,500, depending on the project. If you are purchasing land, again, so if you're new to purchasing land, definitely check out the webinar that T did. That will give you a lot of information about the nuts and bolts of what you need to do to identify your land. Because one of the things that you'll need to do on this application, and we'll go through this, is tell us where the land is that you'd like to purchase, right? So there are some checks that we do on our end to make sure that, that land is available. Some land in the city is slated for development or it's owned by a city department, other things that are difficult to navigate. And we know that they're difficult to navigate. You may have tried to navigate them already on your own and had trouble. So that's another reason why we exist, right? We're here to help you kind of navigate some of those processes so that you can purchase land in the city to grow on. You're also going to need a plot plan, right? And so we have a little packet here on how to create a plot plan. And that's just showing the plot of land that you're looking to grow or farm on and what you're going to do with it, right? Are you going to put raised beds on it? Where are those going to be? Are you going to have some orchards, some trees? Where are those going to be? And again, this is it's an estimate. Of course we want a good estimate, right? We want to know that you've been thinking about this and working on this, and we want to see that work. That really helps us to be able, again, to make decisions about how we're able to, kind of provide funds for as many people as possible. Our goal is to make sure that 50 Black farmers and growers get funds from us this year to either purchase land or to put infrastructure on the land that they already own. Also, community engagement plan. So sometimes, let's say, you grew up in one neighborhood, but you have a connection to another neighborhood where there's a green space that you'd like to start growing on. You say, well, no one's doing anything with this space, overgrown, people are dumping there. Again, these are a lot of the things that people have thought about when purchasing land with land fund, for themselves and for their communities. And we want to make sure that you have a connection to the people around your land, right? If you don't live in that community, if you're not from that community, we are an organization that knows and really believes that, we got to be engaged with the community where we are so that we can, do our work in the best way and in accordance with, with the values that we hold dear. And one of those things, again, is being engaged and being in community, making sure that we're a Black farming community here in the city of Detroit. And so the community engagement plan is something, if you are not, I think everybody needs to fill it out now. So when we get into the application, I'll finalize that. But we want to make sure that, especially the folks who are purchasing land or want to purchase land in the community that they don't live in, complete a community engagement plan so we know that you're connected with those folks and that you've done some of that groundwork, so that when you get into that community, you have a thriving and wonderful experience. And so those are some of the things that you want to make sure you have before you sit down to start the application, right? Make sure that you've worked on your plot plan. Again, some people apply for land purchases and infrastructure, right? So they say, well, I want to buy this lot next to my house, and I also need a fence on it because I know, this is something that you know from the outset. So you're applying for both things. There is an option to apply for both things. We'll go through the Google form application together so y'all can see how it kind of plays out. But yeah, if you want to, also have your project budget ready, whatever that project is that's going to be on your land, make sure that you have that budget ready so that when you sit down to complete the application. Here's a little bit of a timeline just so you know. Again, the application dropped, and our applications always drop on Juneteenth, so June 19th, that's our founding day. And then the applications are due by midnight on July 29th. We will notify you if you're selected the week of September 15th because we have a big party and announcement to welcome our new awardees to the Detroit Black Farmer Land Fund family at the DBCFSN Harvest Fest, which is taking place at D-Town Farm, and that's September 21st and 22nd. It's a weekend-long activity. We'll know when we notify you on September 15th whether you need to be there on the 21st or the 22nd to kind of officially be welcomed into the Detroit Black Farmer Land Fund family. You will get your cool Detroit Black Farmer Land Fund t-shirt, and you'll probably also get the Detroit Black Farmer Land Fund sign. That's new to show that you are a proud awardee of the Detroit Black Farmer Land Fund. So just, thinking about some of the things that you want to have before you sit down to work on your application. All right, so we are here on the apply for the Detroit Black Farmer Land Fund site down here at the bottom. So you have two options. You can apply online. Oop, I clicked that a little fast, but that's good. So this is the actual application. You can also download the application. I'll go back to that screen real quick. You can download the application there. If you want to download it so you can look at it, work on it, fill in the stuff you want to fill in at your leisure, and then kind of sit down and do it all at one time. Which again, if you have all of your documents ready to upload, and you have your, if you're purchasing land, you have your addresses and things like that, I would say it probably shouldn't take you longer than 30 minutes. I think, again, it's some of that, I don't want to say homework, right? But it's some of that background work, that plot plan, making sure you have your address, that, your budget, that kind of stuff. That might take a little longer. But if you complete that stuff before, when you're sitting down to just do the application, it should be pretty simple. Again, it's a Google form application. This is Occupy Yourselves Academy up here at the top on the east side of Detroit. Shout out to them. Those are first year Detroit Black Farmer Land Fund awardees. So again, this is the application. If you have questions about the application during your process, you can email us at DetroitBlackFarmerLandFund@gmail.com. There's also another application review webinar from last year that I did that goes through the application, question by question. We're not going to do all of that today, but we are going to go through it just so you guys can see and get an idea of all the things that are being asked, all the things that are being asked, so when you sit down kind of what to have available. Again, these are the same things from the website, right? Infrastructure, you need your budget. Land purchases, you need your plot plan and community engagement plan. And if you're applying for both, then you need all of these things. Okay, so make sure you get all those things. All right, this is the first page. Let's go to next. All right, so first we want to find out some things about you. We want to find out, and again, I'm just going to fill out things along the way so we can go through the page. Who are you applying for? Again, none of these questions are just giving us information about you. It doesn't necessarily change, or add to, the points you're going to get or your application. This question is important. That's why I'm going to stop on this question, right? Because this fund is designed to support Black farmers in Detroit, Highland Park, and Hamtramck, right? Do you identify as Black, right? This is an important question. If you are a collaborative or a group, we're talking about making sure that the folks that are involved, half or most of the folks that are involved are Black. This is supporting a Black community. All of those things. Make sure you're thinking about that when you're applying. We've always wanted to be very clear that this is specifically for Black folks and Black growers who have specifically, again, and we say here, have had limited access to capital and land as a result of enslavement, racial violence, racial discrimination, and racialized poverty, right? So that's why this is specifically for Black people. So I'm just going to say yes there, right? We want your name. If you have an organization name, any of these little dots, that means that's a required question, so you can't skip it. Because everyone doesn't have an organization, you don't have to put an organization name there. So you have your email address, your phone number, again, just some information. Make sure these are things where we can reach you, right? If we have questions about your application and stuff like that, how are we going to reach you? So make sure this is a good way. And again, if you're a group, kind of make sure that you have a point person or a point email, you know what I mean, that we can reach out to and ask questions and that kind of thing. We're asking about, again, your primary residence. If it's outside of the city, right, describe your connections, kind of like what we talked about with that community engagement, right? There are a lot of people, I'm from Detroit, but I live in Ann Arbor, so just, that's fine. Those are the kind of things that we want to know. We do have extra bonus points if you will list your website and social media. I also do social media for the fund, along with my great friend Amanda of Finnegan Farms, who's also a Detroit Black Farmland Fund awardee. And so we really do a lot to uplift the things that are happening in your growing space. And it's much easier if we have your online presence available so we can see what that looks like. Describing in detail training or classes that you've gone through to develop your gardening or farming skills. Again, and this is where we kind of start seeing some idea of the points. We do have community reviewers that myself and from the Detroit Black Farmer Land Fund leadership team, as well as other members of the Black farming community. Some are awardees, some are not. We bring those folks together to review the applications in community, right? So we want to make sure that these decisions are community supported, and so the people that are getting the Detroit Black Farmer Land Fund funds are, supported by community, and it's a community application process. So this just gives you an idea of some of the things that we do attribute points to. We're looking for training and classes, but we also wanted it to be super important that we understand some people just have lived experience with land. Some people grew up, on learning how to grow from their grandparents, and so that's not a training program or a degree, but we find it to be just as important, if not more so. So we want to know kind of, hey, don't feel bad if you don't have any training or anything. If you have some lived experience that you can share with us, and most people have a combination of both, right? Most people have done some kind of training program, but then also, I've been growing since I was 5. My grandmother had a backyard garden. My mother still has a garden. We have mother-daughter teams that are Detroit Black Farmer Land Fund awardees who grew up gardening together. So all of that is valuable and important to the Detroit Black Farmer. Also, I told you, if you're an awardee, we're going to give you a T-shirt. So what is your T-shirt size? We want to make sure that we have a T-shirt for you at the D-Town Harvest Fest. Okay. Go to next. All right, so here's your land profile, right? Where's the land that you hope to farm or garden on, right? Are you trying to purchase, whether you're trying to purchase it or you're just gardening or farming there? Again, so we understand that there are a variety of different situations that people have. We will keep this information confidential. Again, we started wanting specifically to support folks who were growing on land that they could not afford to buy, right? And so they had these beautiful farms and gardens on land, and we were really concerned that the city was going to try to like sell it out from under them, or something like that. And so we understand that there are people growing on land that they don't own, and we just want to know that so we can factor that into our decision making process. We're not, this isn't any kind of we wouldn't share that information in any way. You're the name of your farm or garden. If you don't have one yet, you can say don't have one yet. That's okay. Right? If you're currently growing, let us know where that is. Even, again, if that's it, you could say my home, right? Or my block. Or you could give, again, if you live in one place, but you're growing somewhere else, let us know that. Are you a member of the Garden Resource Program? You definitely should be. Again, Keep Growing Detroit is a founding farm of the Detroit Black Farmer Land Fund. So you can find out more information specifically about the Garden Resource Program there. The Garden Resource Program will provide you with plants, classes like that land class that I told you all about with Mama T, all kinds of opportunities to actually sell your produce. Keep Growing Detroit is a beautiful community of folks who are committed to a food sovereign Detroit. So definitely join if you have not already. And if you are a Detroit Black Farmer Land Fund awardee, a lot of the work that we do is with Keep Growing Detroit. Describe your mission or goals for your garden or farm. Let us know, what you're thinking about, why you want to do this, and what are the values that you have behind that. I want to grow, right? And what are you applying for funding to purchase? So I'm going to click this because we can go through the land and the infrastructure together. If you're just applying for land, you want to click that. If you're just applying for infrastructure, you want to click that. And that will take you to the proper place in the application. Again, we're going to go to both so you can see, right? So it starts with land purchase readiness, right? We want to do as much as we can to leverage our relationships, right, as institutions to help you navigate this process. And we just want to, answer these questions to the best of your ability. We do want to know if you performed a soil test. I'll tell you why. Because our first year, we were again very excited, got a lot of support, have had some great farmers that applied and that needed some support in purchasing land. Some of them didn't soil test that land, and that land had rocks and trash and all kinds of stuff in the soil, right? And so again, we've been learning just as much as everybody else. And that was a learned lesson for us to make sure that everyone soil tests their land so that there are no surprises, right? We don't want you purchasing land and then there being some surprise, something that you didn't know about, that makes the land hard for you to farm or garden. That would, really, put a damper on your operation, right? And so that's always and that's just a good idea to make sure any land that you're working with, you should make sure to soil test it. Do you live in the neighborhood where you would like to purchase property? Again, we talked about the community engagement piece, but just wanting, again, as you know, Detroit has, yep. Do you live in the neighborhood where you would like to purchase property? Again, there's no wrong answer. We just want to know some of these also track some of the City of Detroit programs. The Detroit Land Bank has certain programs, of course, if you live near, side lots, neighborhood lots. So we just want to know, what you're working with, and we can. And again, if you don't know about side lots and neighborhood lots and stuff like that, if you don't know about that stuff, watch Mama T's webinar. But if you don't know about that stuff, we do. And so we can help you figure out. You might think that your land is going to cost $1,000, but it might only be $500 because it's a neighborhood lot. So those are the kind of things that we need to know so that we can help you out. And again, as I mentioned earlier, you need the specific address of the land you want to purchase. I'm going to click on this link just so I can show you. This is the Detroit parcel viewer, right? So if you know kind of where the land is, you can find out some information about it. You can find out who the tax-paying owner is, right? So in many instances, it's the Detroit Land Bank. But again, you can put in an address. What am I going to put in? I'm going to put keep growing Detroit's address. All right, we couldn't find information for this part. Okay, there we go. We did get there's another address, right? Taxpayer address, right? Commercial vacant, okay? So this is just, again, Eastern Market, right? This is a designation Eastern Market. But so again, it brings up all of this information, how many acres, what's the tax status. It brings up all this information. So these are things that it's good to know. Make sure that you know the actual address of the land you're trying to purchase. And you can put that in here. We ask for addresses just because we've had folks who have land that they've identified, like on their block. I remember there was a block club. They had land on their block that they had identified. It had been vacant for years. They wanted to have a garden there, a community garden, and the city had it like slated for development or something. There was something that the city was wanting to use that lot for, and they couldn't get that lot. We worked diligently to try to work with the land bank and the city to see if the Black Club could get the lot, and it was just something that we couldn't do. And so having another address that you are thinking about can be helpful in that situation. You just never know, especially, we got a lot of really cool stuff going on right now with with sustainability and green projects in the city. And so there are a lot of things that are in the mix. And so sometimes it's good to have multiple addresses maybe that you've identified to grow on, just in case your first choice is not available. Or I think in the case of that block club, it would have taken, there was some like 5-year lien or something like that, so it was some kind of issue where, okay, the block club decided we don't want to wait 5 years to own the land. We can look over here, we can look somewhere else that's also in our neighborhood. So identify, the address, who owns it, right? So again, that's that. Okay, I gotta keep clicking these two. that's that the taxpayer is on there. It's going to let you know kind of who owns that, and it should say Detroit Land Bank Authority, or it'll say some other city department. It might say Michigan Land Bank, Wayne County Land Bank, whoever it is. We just want to know, you know what I mean, so we have an idea of kind of what it'll take to purchase that land. How is it zoned, right? The one we just looked at was commercially zoned. Commercial, and again, commercial property will be harder and more expensive, right, to grow on. So just keeping that in mind. Again, so let's say you have a site that you want to grow on, but you do your research on the regrid and you find out that it's commercial. So it would be great if you also identified some residential land, just in case that commercial land is not available to you to grow on. So have you made attempts at purchasing the land yet? Again, we know some people come to us at a variety of different stages in the land purchase process. You may have tried to purchase land already and it didn't work, or again, you had one of those hangups, the land wasn't available, it was too expensive, whatever the case may be. Maybe you submitted a property application to the city or to the land bank authority, but you haven't heard anything. So we want to know that, again, so we can help you through the process. And again, if you've attempted to purchase, describe where you are in the process here. Purchase through the DLBA, they require you are not delinquent on property taxes on any property, right? So you could, even if it's not the property that you're growing on. So let us know if that's the case. Again, this is confidential. We're not going to, share this information, but we want to know, so that we can have that information going into the land purchase process to help you out. Average land purchases can cost up to $3,000. That includes these title fees that now are accompanied with land purchases, especially through the land bank. We'd like to support as many people as possible. So if you're awarded, can you contribute something to the purchase price of your land? And if so, let us know how much you can contribute. That's really helpful, because if your land's going to cost $3,000, but you can contribute, $1,000, that's $1,000 that we can save for another Black farmer to also be able to purchase their land. So we want to help as many people as possible. So whatever you have already fundraised, we got a lot of people in the land fund community that have done some phenomenal fundraisers through organizations like IOB and other organizations that help you fundraise specifically for land development or purchasing land, or growing, green spaces, all of that. If you have some grants, you have grant funds, you just need $1,000 more to get you across the finish line. Like, that's the kind of stuff we want to know, because we're also trying to, again, we want 50 more people to be in our community. So we want to make sure we have enough funds to do that. Land ownership is power for our community. It also implies increased responsibility that we want to make sure you're aware of, right? So again, the land fund, we don't own the land that we're helping you to purchase. We're just helping you to purchase land. You got to pay property taxes, keep the grass cut. You got to clean up after illegal dumping. There are going to be water bills associated with your property, and they might be kind of high, especially, consider water access when you're looking for land. Possible liability if someone gets hurt on your property. So make sure that we just want to say this so that we know that you're aware that those things are some of the things that come with home ownership. That we know that you've given this some thought and that you're ready to also take on those responsibilities. So just, agree there. We ask that the land remain in production, right? So whether it's food production, plants, natives, flowers, whatever you're growing, we ask that you make sure that your project goes on for at least 5 years, right? Can you commit this time and energy for 5 years? And again, if you're unsure, that's okay. Like, we want to know that. It's a part of the process. It's something that, and maybe there's a why, so again, that's also why really important that you provide direct contact information to talk to you about your application. And again, should something happen before 5 years, can you commit to supporting another Black farmer and or their project, right? And so that, I think, is always kind of a catch-all, right? So if you can't commit to 5 years for some reason, I can't think of, there haven't been a lot of people that have had this situation, I'll be honest. But if you can't, we want to know that, you're also committed to our overarching purpose, right? Which is which is supporting Black farmers in the city of Detroit to have land to grow on, right? So let's say we help you purchase some land, and you got to move. Your mother gets sick, right? Like, I don't want to put that on anybody, but your mother gets sick, you got to move to wherever she is. And so maybe there's a Black farmer who we know who's applied, who doesn't have land yet, who needs some place to grow. And so maybe, we can make that connection. And so we can kind of help, again, keep that land in the Black farming community, even if you're not utilizing it, right? And so that it shows kind of a dedication to our shared values and the shared values that the Detroit Black Farmer Land Fund has. So just want to make sure that you guys are also committed to that. Here's where you can upload some of those documents that I was talking about you should complete before the application, before you sit down to do the application, right? Your plot plan. Here's those requirements. Again, here, I'll just click on it so y'all can see, right? It's just a plot plan guide. So it gives you, great rundown of just how to create a plot plan, how to make sure your plot plan reflects what's happening on the land that you're trying to purchase. Your setbacks, what to include, right? And then it gives some examples. Your plot plan can also be handwritten, right? It doesn't have to be, like computer generated or anything like that. It can be something that you draft on a piece of paper, right? That you take a picture of and you include. So this is a great plot plan guide that we include with your application. The community engagement plan. Let's take a look at that. Yep, I do want it. And so it's going to ask you to make a copy. So you want to say yes. You want to make a copy because that way everybody's community engagement plan is separate as opposed to everyone using the same document. Okay, Google is the way that we've been able to facilitate all of these documents and the application process. And also Danielle, our lead co-conspirator at the Detroit Black Farmer Land Fund from Keep Growing Detroit, has put together a phenomenal application process for you all. And so we're big ups to her on doing that every year. So yeah, community engagement plan. We're just asking you to ask yourself some questions about the community that you're coming into. If you're not a part of that community, what does that mean? And making sure that you're knowledgeable about that community. Being aware of the colonial mindset that we can all bring to this process, right? Like we, in many instances, are, we were, American, we were here, and we've been here, and so this is a colonial place, and so a lot of the processes, policies, procedures are colonial in nature, and so we have to really be thinking about how we engage with each other and make sure we're not utilizing that same colonial mindset when we deal with other communities and other people. We're all affected by toxic systems of domination, right? Engage in dialogue with your neighbors about what you're doing, or your future neighbors, right? So if they're going to be your future neighbors, have you talked to them at all? Have you said anything about what you're doing? You could share newsletters with neighbors about activities, survey them about what they want to see, and we can help you with that, right? If that's something that you're interested in doing, make sure that you let us know that on the application. You got to be aware of city ordinances and regulations regarding what your project is. Of course, there are certain setbacks for hoop houses, for example, right, or greenhouses. You got to have a certain amount of setback to do that. So, temporary signage, as I told you back here, they're a proud awardee of the Detroit Black Farmer Land Fund sign. We also have a sign that says, this is the Detroit Black Farmer Land Fund site. So if you're in the land purchase process, but you haven't purchased it yet, so hopefully people won't dump on your land. And, if your land is vacant, that's one of the problems that we've had, is that people are dumping on the land. And so that can be highly problematic. So hopefully that sign will help. And so we have a little checklist for you to complete. Make sure you've notified neighbors within 500 feet of your project. If you're not from the neighborhood that you are trying to purchase land in, make sure to set up a community engagement consultation with the Keep Growing Detroit Garden Development staff, a few of whom are also Detroit Black Farmer Land Fund awardees, right? So those folks will be able to help you make sure that you're integrated into the community in the way that we feel like it's probably going to give you the most chance at success, right? And success for not just you, but success for the whole community that you're going into. And make sure that you know this stuff. What district is your project in? Who's your district manager, your council person? How many houses are there? Is there a block club? These kinds of things that really anybody moving into any neighborhood, it's great stuff for you to know, find out, and assess before you kind of make that decision to say, I want to purchase land in this area. So this is the community engagement plan. Make sure that you've completed that, and everyone does need to upload that. Again, I think it's super important for folks, again, that are not trying to purchase land in the community where they live, but it's really important for everyone. We want everyone to be kind of aware and just, again, rethinking how we deal with each other, taking ourselves out of kind of these colonial systems that we operate in and moving in self-determination. But that also means moving in community, right? So being able to do that, we want to make sure that everyone is aware that this is how we move at the Detroit Black Farmer Land Fund. Are you also applying for infrastructure funding? Yes. This might not let me go forward if I don't attach these files. So let's see. Yeah, okay, wait, here's the answer I didn't fill in. And I guess we can probably take this out, Amanda. Will it let me go if I don't have that? No, it won't let me go without the upload. So hold on. All right, so once you've completed the land portion of your application, if you're doing land, the land portion is first. So once you've completed that, you'll go to the infrastructure section. So infrastructure is, things that will go on the land that you already own. Again, so we must already own the land to receive infrastructure funds. We have some instances where folks, again, are in agreements with farmers that own the land and they're farming on somebody else's land. You're renting a plot, those kinds of things. But so we would certainly need some kind of proof, or, just like a community engagement plan, we would need some kind of connection with whoever you're renting the land from, just to make sure that whatever infrastructure project is going to be there is approved by the person who actually owns the land. Right. So but really, most folks already own the land and they want to receive these infrastructure funds to keep building up their farms. Do you own the land where the infrastructure project will be? Again, make sure, or in process, you have a signed purchase agreement. You got some kind of permission from the current owner, right? So you can provide us with, proof of that, or a lease or agreement, memorandum of understanding, whatever y'all got, you can provide us with that. What's the address where the project is? How will you use the money, right? So just giving us an idea, and it could be more than these, right? You could say you want some gardening supplies, but also I want to go to the Black Urban Growers Conference in Houston this year. Like, I didn't get to go last year. I saw that, in Philadelphia, I saw it was really great, and I'm a Black urban grower and I want to go. And so we do provide support and a $500 professional development stipend for Detroit Black Farmer Land Fund awardees. So, and then here on this. So, you could click more than one thing. Also, business services is something kind of new that we're, providing funds for. So if you need some kind of special permit, you need legal support, you're working on, some people, they wanted to purchase land from the land bank, but their business wasn't incorporated, or they weren't a nonprofit yet and they needed support with that. We will also help you with those kinds of services. Let's say you've gone to a lawyer and the lawyer says, well, it's going to cost you $1,000 for me to draft up whatever. I'm a lawyer. We also have other lawyers that we work with, but we can also help you with that, whether either paying the lawyer that you have selected or, working with you internally to help you with your legal support or other needs, right? So we really try to be broad and creative in thinking about, and again, we're also farmers and gardeners and agriculturalists ourselves. So when we do this application, we work really hard to try to encompass anything that we know will come about when you are stewarding land, and think about ways for us to be able to support you with that. So even if it's not encompassed here, let us know what you're thinking. You can email us at Detroit Black Farmer Land Fund @gmail.com, and we'll let you know if that's something that we can support. Again, you can also here describe in detail how you will use these funds. I guess we should have a other box here. We don't, but I'll talk to somebody. So maybe if there's an other thing that you wanted to spend it on, just be sure to describe it here in detail. What's the total amount needed? So that's where the budget comes in. Again, here's that project budget template. What's the same thing? What's the amount you're able to contribute? So whether land or infrastructure, we are asking, you know, if you can contribute something, we'd love to know what that is and support you in that way. And again, I'll click on this too, the project budget. Again, this is we're making a copy of this document for yourself. So then you'll have your own copy. And again, for those of we are intergenerational. So for those folks who are not as computer savvy, we know and understand that. You can also, again, download all of these documents so you can kind of look at them in hand and then kind of fill them out, and we can work on getting those submitted for you. Here's your budget template, right? We already did kind of put in what infrastructure category, right? So what are you asking for? And again, there's a other. So if it's not any of these things, sometimes see contractor. So you might have already found someone. You're like, I want to build a tool shed at my garden land, right? And you already have a contractor. The contractor sent you an invoice that says this is going to cost. Okay, so tool shed, right? And so contractor says this is a one job and it's going to cost $500, right? So your total is $500. You put the contractor's name here, right? If there's a link, I mean, so some people, it's like, I want a riding mower. And so you find the riding mower at Lowe's and you just drop the link right there. You let us know exactly what you want. And we can, again, if you're selected as an awardee, then we can help you out with that. So again, this is just an example, but yeah, just make sure that any infrastructure funds that you're requesting, that this budget reflects kind of what, even, okay, and I said the other example about bugs. You want to go to bugs, and your airfare is going to be ridiculous, right? So you want to go, you already registered for the conference, but you're like, man, how am I going to fly there, right? So that's other, let's say that's going to cost $500. Okay, you need, well, I guess, yeah, you need, we'll just say this, hopefully it's not more than $500 to fly to Houston, but, and that's November 1st and 2nd. We're repurchasing bugs, right? And so there's a link, they have a website, and you could, put the link there. Or, if it's something like airfare, something like travel expenses, something like, let's say if you also needed the registration, right? If there's not a link, that's okay. You can just put in that box whatever is going to, you can put the website here, right? Website to bugs. Okay, so this is, and then once you finish this up, you would save it, right? You would save it to your own computer, right? And that you could do that by, you can make a copy. You could save it as a Google Sheet too. You could do that, but you can make a copy that you could save to your own drive, right? And put that together with your other applications. So that's your budget. That's kind of breaking that down. I don't know. Again, I don't know if it's gonna let me go past this if I don't have a file. Well, I do have a file. So let's just, again, I try to break down as much as possible during this webinar or during this video, how to, let's just save it as a Google Sheet for now. And we can upload it real quick. All right. You would just upload it. You can, if you do everything on Google or on your drive, that's kind of the easiest way to do it. Then you can just upload it from there. I'm just gonna upload something random for now because I don't see the document, but the document should come up there. And then you can go to next, right? And you're almost done. And these are just some kind of wrap up questions. What would support from us mean to you? This is an opportunity to kind of anything that hasn't been encompassed in the application up until this point. Maybe you've been working really hard. You heard about the Detroit Black Farmer Land Fund last year, and you didn't have, all the information needed yet. You didn't know that there were people that were supporting Black farmers in the city of Detroit. You're like, wow, this is awesome. And so, but you couldn't apply last year. And so now you got your stuff, you've been working on your stuff, you identified your land, you did your budget, figured out how to do a plot plan, you did one. And so now you're applying. So, let us know kind of what does this mean to you? Why is this important to you? Let us know that here. If you're awarded money from DBFLF, are you okay with this being public information? Again, we love to uplift the farms, farmers, gardens, green spaces, farmers markets, all the people that we've supported. We love to lift y'all up on social media. We love to show everyone your beautiful faces and your beautiful spaces, your beautiful farms, beautiful gardens. And so we just want to know if that's okay. Most people say that it is. If it's not, that's cool. It's not a bad thing. We just want to know, so we can kind of make sure to, respect your wishes, right? If you don't want those kinds of things to be made public. And then optional photo or video review in your farm or garden space. Again, I am an application reviewer. And so it is always really great to get a sense of who folks are, see them in their element. That's always kind of like one of my favorite parts of the application, is getting to see people kind of in their element and doing their thing. And that is what makes this application special. We really try to make sure that this application gives you a chance to really share who you are. And again, there are members of our community that are going to be receiving you, and rooting for you. Again, like we're like, right, Issa Rae, right? Like we're rooting for everybody Black, right? We want all the Black farmers in Detroit, Highland Park, and Hamtramck to have the support that they need. And so this is the way that we do that. Is there anything else you want the Detroit Black Farmer Land Fund to know, right? And so if you want anything else you want us to know, let us know that. And I believe once you're done with this page, I just want to make sure, once you're done with this page, that is it. Go to the next. Oh yeah, some additional resources. So if you need additional resources, you need a few other things, if you're interested in figuring out kind of where to go from here as you're waiting to hear back from your application, Keep Growing Detroit's garden development people can help you out with a lot of different things, and Detroit community markets, right? And so then you would hit submit. I don't think I can submit because I don't think all the questions are filled in, but let's see. I think it will. Okay, there we go. And then it just reminds you of the timeline. So really excited to receive your applications. We already have some applications, so good for those folks who have already applied. So back to the Detroit Black Farmer Land Fund website, where we do have some videos. We're gonna have a new video coming up soon. If you go to the video section too, you can check out, that's me, that is last year's application review video. So we have an application review webinar that we usually do where I go through every single question individually, which takes way more time. So we wanted to do something that was a little shorter, but also still give you access to, again, that like question by question run through. If you want to utilize that, you can, again, find this webinar on both our YouTube site and here at DetroitBlackFarmer.com under videos. The application has changed a little bit. We have a few new things on the application, but every year we just go back and kind of make sure that the application that we've created is still going to work for our purposes. A lot of pieces of it do, and so we update little things year to year. But this is a good opportunity for us to just remind folks that a lot of information about the work that we're doing, about how to purchase land in the city of Detroit, about the Black farmers that we've been supporting for the past 5 years. All of that information is available at DetroitBlackFarmer.com. We really hope that you check out some of the other things on our website too, but glad that we had this time to walk through the application together. Email us at DetroitBlackFarmerLandFund@gmail.com with any other questions. And we look forward to seeing your applications and seeing you at the D-Town Harvest Fest in September. Peace.